super rare cars you didn't know existed. Oddities of quality bring substantial value. And when it comes to the world of automobiles, limited edition is a term common in high society. Regardless if the oddity comes in machinery, collections of art and literature, toys, clothing, architecture, or real estate, millionaires crave these rare items. So in this video, we'll be observing the rarest and probably the most expensive cars to have ever been made. While we get down to the task at hand, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and share this video. Number 10. Porsche 550 Spyder. This was built and marketed as both a track and road car, but most buyers used it for the former, with the Spyder often outperforming the competition with ease. It was made from 1953 to 1956 by Ferrari Porsche and inspired by the Porsche 356, along with other Spyder prototypes that were conceived at the time. And since only 90 of these cars were ever built in that 3-year span, nowadays there are only about 46 functional units. There's no downplaying the rarity and value of this car if you're an avid collector. So if you've got $6 million, you can get your hands on this classic piece of automotive art. Number 9. 2008 Maybach Excelero. If you're in the realm of automobiles, you've surely heard of the Maybach Excelero of 2008, or at least you're aware that Maybach is considered the most premier luxury brand for cars. This car sports a twin-turbo V12 engine that gives it almost 700 horsepower and a top speed of 218 miles per hour. But that's not the only reason this car is so sought after. On the hit German series Cobra 11, it was a guest star, as it is another fantastic German brand. And it gets featured more often than not. Recently, it was featured in the music video Lost One by famous rapper Jay-Z, which only served to increase its profile. If you had $8 million in 2011 to invest in an ultra-performance vehicle, this would have been a status quo investment and addition to your collection worthy of magazine exposé. Number 8. Bugatti Type 41 Royale Culner Coupe. The Bugatti Type 41, also known as Royale, truly has that royal look and size to match. It is one of the largest cars in the world, measuring 169.3 inches in wheelbase and 252 inches in overall length. Plus, it has one of the biggest engines ever made with its 12.5-liter V8 that's 4.6 feet long and 3.6 feet high. The Type 41, or Royale, was made from 1927 to 1933. Weighing in at 7,000 pounds, the Royale is 25% bigger than most luxury cars of today. Properly named Royale, Bugatti made these cars with the intention of selling them to noblemen and aristocrats for a huge sum. But the timing of its creation was unlucky, as it was right during the wormwood of the Great Depression, so even the elites, or the 1%ers of the 1%ers, were thrifty. For reference, the chassis alone cost $30,000 to make, and that was in the days of old when 5 cents could get you a cup of coffee. Because of those factors, only 7 were made and 3 were sold. In our modern era, only 6 have been reported to still exist, and they run for a price tag of £5 million, or $20 million. Number 7. Jaguar Xk120c. The Jaguar C-Type was manufactured between 1951 and 1953, with a total of 53 models built. 43 were sold to private owners, where it has been reported that most are surviving to this day. And while that number may seem higher than usual for this list, that actually makes it the rarest and most expensive Jaguar that exists to this day. It carries a price tag of $13.2 million, depending on its 2 variations of the C-Type. Choose from the road version or the track version. The road version comes with 160 to 180 horsepower, and the track version runs with a force of 205 horsepower. The track version won 2 of the Le Mans 24-hour races before losing to the Mercedes-Benz 300 SL due to a cooling issue. Number 6. 1996 Mclaren F1 Lm. Speaking of super rare cars with track versions, the 1998 Mclaren F1 Lm is a track version with built-in commemoration for the 5 Mclaren F1 GTR that competed in the Le Mans 24-hour races, where one of the GTRs finished in first place. As for the 1998 Mclaren F1 Lm, the design and engine were heavily based on the winning McLarens, but had more elegance to it since it was meant to be a showpiece that could still fly to track-worthy speeds. Only 6 units for this model were ever made, with 5 being sold to private owners, and the 6th one kept by McLaren for further development of their F1 line. You can easily spot the LMs by their signature papaya orange colors, which were the same colors flown by creator Bruce McLaren. Number 5. Aston Martin Db R1 GT Zegato. It's a more lightweight and improved version of the Db R1 GT, named after the factory it was manufactured in back in 1960, where it was supposed to have 25 units made. Only 20 Zegato units were ever produced. Powered by a 3.5-liter twin-spark engine that gave the car an impressive 314 horsepower, and an all-aluminum frame that made the Zegato a whole 100 pounds lighter than the previous model, it was a force to be reckoned with on the road and track. These cars will cost you about $14.3 million, because of their power and the fact that Zegato is one of the world's most famous coach builders. Number 4. Ferrari 250 Gt California Swb Spyder. There's hardly any list of the top 10 best cars in the world without Ferrari ranking closer to number 1. This car was produced between 1953 and 1964, with only 55 units ever being made, because a lot of racing models were being built by Ferrari during that time. And if this one looks familiar to you, you're not having a mental episode. A fiberglass replica of this model was actually used in the 80s blockbuster movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, giving the car the collector's item status and increasing its price on auctions. The highest bid recorded for a model so far was $17 million. Number 3. 1956 Aston Martin Db R1. With number 3, Aston Martin is back on our list. The Db R1 is quite possibly the most important car that Aston Martin has released. This argument can be validated as several records were set and broken after it was manufactured in 1956. To give you an idea of how much this model has achieved, you first need to know that it was made to win the World Sports Car Championship, which it did, 6 times. In addition to that, it was often pitted against top race cars in the 50s, like the Ferrari 250 TR, where it would compete at the same level, winning a Le Mans 24-hour race, and the same year, the 250 TR. In other accomplishments, it was able to win Nürburgring and tourist trophies in 1959. This car was ahead of its time, beyond its years, and so only 5 Db R1s were ever made. Now, you can purchase one for about $22 million. Number 2. 1957 Ferrari 250 Testa Rosa. Here's an oldie and all-time goodie with a record to show for it. Affectionately called the TR, this race car was built between the 50s and 60s, where it completely dominated the competition in virtually every racing event that it was put in, since it was unveiled to the racing scene in 1957. Testa Rosa, or Redhead, referred to its fiery paint job that drew the eyes of every racing fan for decades. To get back to some of those incredible records it set as mentioned earlier, it won 10 World Sports Car Championships, 3 Le Mans 24-hour races, and so much more. The only car that even came close to beating it was the previously mentioned Aston Martin Db R1. The value of this car cannot be understated, and the price definitely speaks for itself, with the highest bid for it being $39 million. This makes it the second most expensive Ferrari to have ever been sold. Number 1. Ferrari 250 GTO. Ferrari 250 GTO takes the top rank on this list. And if you're a car enthusiast, this may have been your prediction. It's been nominated as the top sports car of all time by Sports Car International in 2004. And it's even considered the greatest Ferrari of all time by many more hardcore automobile specialists. It was so exclusive at the time of its release that you actually had to be approved by both Enzo Ferrari and his dealer before you were even allowed a peek at the car, which sold for $18,000 during the early 60s. This exclusivity survived until modern times, with the surviving 39 GTOs getting bids no lower than $50 million. And the highest ever recorded was an unofficial purchase by an anonymous buyer for $70 million. Which of these cars would you like for your birthday? And what other rides do you think should have been on our list? Leave your comments down below. Then be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and share this video with your fellow Car Club members.